4.5 inches of lift with IFS, no drop brackets, none of that junk. Brother, we thought it was just as crazy as it sounds, but when Icon released their 3.5 to 4.5 inch lift kits for these 21 plus F-150s, we had to get one in just to see how they did, and well, we topped it off with a set of RXT rear leaf springs too. I'm Sean Bowman, we're in the Shock Surplus Shop, so let's talk some shocks. What we have here is failure to communicate. No, I kid. This is actually the heart of why this lift system can actually hit 4 inches of lift in the front. We can't talk about Icon without talking about their Delta Joint Pros, which we think have the best ball joint solution on the market. And with that comes 90 degrees of articulation, which is a lot more than this blown out stock unit. In this case, basically the arm can be almost upside down before that ball joint binds. But that isn't the only issue with having more extension out of the front suspension of these F-150s, or essentially having more travel. We tested a set of Bilstein 6112s on one of these trucks, and we saw that the clearance between the spring and at least the stock arm was super tight. Basically, as the suspension extends, the arm goes down, it gets closer to that spring. And so because of that, if you really wanted to push travel too far, even an aftermarket set of arms is going to have clearance issues. To correct that, Icon took a page out of the old Ford book and basically copied the trimmer knuckles with their own steel knuckles, which are super strong compared to these aluminum ones, although I don't know of a lot of people breaking their aluminum knuckles. The biggest change that we saw here is the upper ball joint pickup point is about 5/8 of an inch higher than factory by basically lifting that position. If you're having contact here, but you raise it up, well, now you don't have those contact issues anymore. Also looks like that ball joint position might be moved out slightly, which is also benefiting things as well. But if you just move that upper ball joint position, well, you're going to have some issues with bump steer, scrub, camber curve, caster curve. Everything's going to get screwed up. So we wanted to see what else would change to see if, well, this thing's going to bump steer like most Fords do. The lower ball joint position looks to be close to the same spot, but it does look to have a little bit more angle, which probably is going to help keep both the upper and the lower at the same approximate angle. And then additionally, we're seeing this tie rod pickup point is about a 1/4 inch higher on the Icon knuckle, which should help with that bump steer, keep your toe curve under control. And well, the angle looks a little bit flatter as well, so we're hoping to not see any bump steer, but we're going to be taking it out on the road and see if it does anything weird. Everything looks like they've moved everything in the right direction, but we won't know till we know. All right, guys, we're not just doing the front, we're also completely transforming the rear here. The stock leaf springs on these F-150s aren't terrible, but they're not great. With a single leaf, goes into this big, thick overload, doesn't ride great, and, well, leaves a lot of travel on the table. As a whole, we're doing the Icon RXT leaf springs, which were originally designed for Gen 2 Raptors, but they fit on 2015 plus F-150s as well. We're going to be pairing them with their 2.0 rear shocks because we don't need to go crazy, and we're going to be running Icon's 1-inch drop shackles as well, so that we should have a total of 1.5 inches of lift in the back with those rear blocks removed. Now, the biggest thing you can see from these Icon RXT leaf springs is there's a heck of a lot more leaf springs in that pack, which allows a lot more progressive action. Each leaf spring progressively increases spring rate so they can be a little bit more plush off the top and a lot more supportive at the end of their stroke. They also give you an extra leaf spring for 3 total combinations of setup for different lift heights or weight loads as well, which is super great. We'll be running them without the saddle leaf at the lightest load setting. Now, what's kind of cool about these RXTs is besides the military wrap, they run a half leaf on the forward half of the leaf springs. It's going to be a big help here between dropping that block and that leaf setup for reducing axle wrap. This thing's got a Coyote, it's going to get a blower eventually, and so wheel hop and axle wrap is a real issue on these trucks as a whole, and will be a real issue on this one. Basically, to get a leaf spring to work the way you want it to work, the primary leaf spring often will go S-shaped the second you give it gas. So to kind of mitigate that, they give you an extra half of the leaf on the front half of the pack so that it keeps the axle from doing one of these, from your pinion doing a little dance, but you still have a very light initial rate. These F-150s are a inverted shackle. The shackle goes above the leaf spring. So despite this leaf spring being, or this shackle being longer, it is actually a drop shackle, which is also going to further help leaf spring geometry here. The stock shackles are acting like they were a little short as is, and with the additional free arc here, this is going to allow for much more smooth performance out of the leaf springs. It also will help set roll center and center of gravity geometry to be just that little bit tighter. So he's going to get better handling, better ride feel, better performance, and, well, he's not going to make any sacrifices under a load. So it's going to be wins in all departments. We just got to throw it on, see how they do.
Alright guys, well, the truck is done, it's on the ground. We're taking it on our straight loop just to see how it does. These F-150s really like to bump steer, so we're going to see if that's corrected with this lift, if there's any harsh top out or any weird stuff happening from the front, because, well, the front is really the out of the box part of this lift system. Now, let's get going on this road. I can just a few seconds in already tell you it feels super cushy. Small bump compliance is absolutely spectacular. We're gonna roll up to our little right-hand bend here, which has a little drainage dip, and I can't even really feel it's there. Although there is at least some noticeable body roll, it's really not bad at all. And just cruising down this road, these might just be the most plush things I've felt on an F-150 so far. Now, the big test here is gonna see if they top out up this big old driveway, and we hit it, and no top out. Wow, dude, these might have more droop travel than anything else we tested because everything else tops out. Now we're in our cross articulation event here, and, well, brother, there was no bump steer at all. Everything else we've tested just bump steers all over the place, and going over these speed bumps is no big deal at all. Now this truck has way too aggressive a wheel offset, so ignore that rub, but man, even over these speed bumps, they feel absolutely great. Now this is going to be the real test of the top out, because we're going to go down this driveway, which is pretty steep and big, and hopefully we see what it does. And wow, it didn't even get close to topping out from the field things. It didn't even feel like we used all of the bump travel. Everything else for these F-150s we've tested just tops out like crazy there, and these just don't. So you can have more lift and less top out. That's crazy. And we're just cruising down this kind of messed up industrial park, and it feels really, 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 really good. I was totally expecting a lot of weird characteristics with this lift, just because, you know, there's no drop bracket, and I was wondering that the bump steer would get worse, but somehow we have more lift than we've had on anything else. It rides better, bump steers less. Brother, I call that a win. I think really the big secret here is all that extra travel means Icon doesn't have to go crazy, and like I can go up this driveway while making a turn, and it's super stable and composed, and even slowing down over these speed bumps, brother, it feels absolutely great. You know, I really had reservations about this lift kit, but as you can see, going over these speed bumps, it's like nothing, you know? I I think a lot of people are looking for that Raptor-ish cushy feel in these kind of areas, and I can almost guarantee it's not going to give you that level of comfort off-road because we are still short on travel, but it is almost Raptor-like in the way it rides over these smaller hits over the street. And, well, we're way up in the sky right now, which is super, super, super cool. So if you've been considering a set of these, I can hardly think of a better option for getting this much lift and not screwing your truck up with the drop bracket.
Well, color us shocked, because not only did this work, it worked great. No bump steer, nothing funny, and ride was spectacular. I think this is really a great testament to what Icon is capable of. And although we love all the other brands, Icon can do things that nobody else can. Their Delta Joint Pro ball joints have the most articulation on the market, and they're the only ones making these trimmer style knuckles. So they're the only ones who have these kits. Now, we would love to see some more options, but they already pretty much nailed this one. So if you were considering a 4 to 4.5 inch lift on your F-150, stop looking at that drop bracket garbage, because you can run these Icons, and brother, they're killer. But if you're interested in a set of this Icon 4.5 inch lift kit, any other Icon part, anything else for your F-150, make sure to hop on shocksurplus.com, shoot us a call, email, chat. We got you covered there, or leave a comment below. And well, if there's something else you want to see, that comment section is for you too. In the meantime, we'll see you out on the trails.